Good morning, children. We will continue with transformation of sentences and we are going to study the structures to and so that today. Before we proceed, let me tell you that grammar is too interesting to be ignored, and believe me, transformation of sentences is not so difficult that you cannot understand it. So let us begin with the structure to and to. So in this structure, to is an adverb and to is an infinitive. Then to is used before an adjective or an adverb, and this to infinitive is used before a verb. This is the first thing that you need to understand in this structure. Then TOO means more than is suitable or enough, or excessive in extent or degree, more than is needed. See, you need to understand the meaning of to in this structure because to also means and there's another meaning of to, and that is also, but we're not talking about that in this structure. Here it means this. And to, as I said before, is an infinitive and it is followed by a verb. Examples can be to go, to sleep, to eat, etc. Before these terms and meanings confuse you, I will quickly move on to the examples because what matters is the correct usage and understanding and not learning these definitions and meanings. And understanding these structures and the correct usage of these structures, it will come only with practice. So I request you all again to kindly solve all the examples that we discuss in your registers and solve them repeatedly and also read them repeatedly for better understanding. So if we have to use to and to, the structure to and to in a sentence, what is the order? To is followed by the adjective, to followed by the adjective, then we write the infinitive, verb, and then the remaining sentence. Example, Shylock was too cruel to show mercy. We all know this. Here, to is followed by the adjective, that is cruel, then the infinitive, the verb, and then mercy, the remaining sentence. Shylock was too cruel to show mercy. In transformation, you are instructed to rewrite a to and to sentence, to remove to and to from the sentence, to remove to and to from the sentence and use so that. So that, like to and to, is used to express, it expresses the same idea as to and to. A few rules that you need to remember for transforming a sentence from to and to so that or vice versa are: A. No commas to be put. Both two and two and so that should be written without a comma. B. When we convert a two and two sentence into so that, we expand the sentence into two clauses. The first clause should have so and the second clause should have that. We had studied a few structures yesterday and I had told you that you cannot separate the pair. If you are expected to use no sooner than, you have to write than with no sooner and you have to write when with hardly. Similarly, here, if you're writing a two and two sentence, you have to use this pair. If you're writing a sentence with so that, you have to use both these words. Okay? So, the second rule is that in a so that sentence, the first clause should have so and the second clause should have that. Now we move on to the third rule. If the sentence containing two and two is an affirmative sentence. Now what is an affirmative sentence? An affirmative sentence is a positive sentence. When something is simply being asserted or declared, it expresses the truth of a basic assertion. For example, Bassanio was a spendthrift. The sentence says, Bassanio was a spendthrift. As against this, a negative sentence expresses its falsity using the words no, not. So a negative sentence of this will be Bassanio was not a spendthrift. I hope you've got it. So, if a sentence containing two and two is a positive sentence, then the contrasting sentence, the one with so that, will be a negative sentence. Another example of a positive sentence, Antonio was a merchant of Venice. The negative sentence will be Antonio was not a merchant of Venice. Once again, back to the rule that we were discussing, that a sentence containing two and two, if it is a positive sentence, then the sentence with so and that will be a negative sentence. Now to justify this, I will give you an example. These examples were to explain what positive and negative sentences are. Now we'll talk about it with reference to two and so that. So the example is, the example was the one that we discussed. Shylock was too cruel to show mercy. This was the example that we had taken. Shylock was too cruel to show mercy. The instruction is rewrite the sentence using so that. The answer will be Shylock was so clever that he could not show mercy. So this was a positive sentence and this becomes a negative sentence because of not. So sorry, I've written clever in the answer. The question says cruel. Shylock was too cruel to show mercy. Hence the answer will be Shylock was so cruel that he could not show mercy. So cruel instead of clever. The question says, the old man at the bridge was so tired that he could not walk. And you have to rewrite the sentence using to and to. So T-O-O-2 will be followed by the adjective. What is the adjective? Tired. The answer will be the old man was too tired to, then the verb. The old man was too tired to walk. Full stop. So this is your answer for the second question. Now the third one. This third question says, Antonio was too kind to turn down Bassanio's request. Here, the adjective is kind, as in kindness. Verb is turn down. It's a phrasal verb that means to reject. So the verb is turn down. The answer will be, you have to rewrite the sentence with so that. So the first clause, Antonio was so kind that, second clause, he could not turn down Bassanio's request. Full stop. Next question. The sight of the daffodils was so captivating that Wordsworth could not forget it. Rewrite using to and to. The answer will be the sight of the daffodils was too captivating Now here don't write it was too captivating to forget. You're missing out a very important detail, and that is Wordsworth. The sight of the daffodils was too captivating for Wordsworth to forget. This is a negative sentence. Antonio was so innocent that he could not understand Shylock's intentions. This is a negative sentence, so the answer will be a positive sentence. We will not write not in the answer. Okay, we will not write not in the answer. The answer is Antonio was too innocent to understand Shylock's intention. Let us quickly discuss active-passive voice. In the active voice, the subject performs the action expressed by the verb. And in passive voice, the subject receives the action expressed by the verb. For example, if we look at the first sentence, Antonio signed the bond. Here, the subject is Antonio, the action is signed, the verb is signed, and the object is the bond. However, when we convert the same sentence into passive voice, the voice changes and the order changes. The object will become the subject and the subject will become the object. Therefore, the bond that is the object here will become the subject in passive voice. The order will change and we will begin the sentence with the subject. We will begin the sentence with the word that was the object in the first sentence. I hope you can understand. Please look at the screen. Antonio signed the bond. Antonio is the subject. Bond is the object, and this is in active voice. I am explaining you in very, very simple terms. And in active voice, the subject performs the action. Alright, therefore Antonio has been written first. When we convert it into passive voice, the object will become the subject. Hence, the answer will be the bond was signed by Antonio. Action, of course, remains the same and the subject becomes the object. The order has changed. Another example is Antonio borrowed 3000 ducats. Here, Antonio is the subject, action borrowed, object 3000 ducats. When we convert it into passive voice, the answer will be 3000 ducats. Now this object in the active voice will become the subject in the passive voice. Therefore, we will begin the sentence with the object. We will begin the sentence with 3000 ducats. So 3000 ducats were borrowed by Antonio. In transformation of sentences, you often get sentences which have to be converted from active voice to passive voice or vice versa. The instructions do not directly ask you to convert from active to passive, but the question will ask you to rewrite a sentence and begin with the object. The question will ask you to rewrite the sentence and begin with the object, which obviously means that you have to write it in passive voice, because when you begin with the object of the sentence in active voice, when you make it the subject, when you change the order, the voice automatically gets changed. We will solve a few examples to understand it better. Alright, so the question is, Portia's father devised the casket method. Here, Portia's father is the subject, devised is the action, the verb, and the casket method is the object. Now the instruction is end Portia's father, which means that the subject should be made the object. It should be written in the end. So it means that the subject should be made the object, and it obviously means, the implied meaning is that the casket method, the object should be made the subject. It means that they're asking us to convert, that the sentence is in active voice and they're asking us to convert it into passive voice. So if we begin with the object, that is the casket method, the answer will be the casket method was devised by Portia's father. Full stop. I will write the structure again. Structure for active voice is thing doing the action plus the action then the thing receiving the action. This is the structure for active voice. And let me write the structure for passive voice as well. Structure for passive voice. Thing receiving the action will be written first, followed by the action, and then the thing performing the action. In the passive voice, when you write the verb, you will write the past participle form of the verb. For example, is writing will become is being written, signed will become was signed, will sign will become will be signed. Alright, and accordingly it will keep changing. Next question is, Wordsworth wrote daffodils. Wordsworth is the subject, the action, and daffodils, the poem, is the object. They are instructing us, they're asking us to begin the sentence with daffodils. And daffodils was the object written in the end. So when we begin the sentence with a word that was the object, we are changing its voice. Now it will become a passive voice. And the answer will be daffodils, inverted commas of course, daffodils was written by Wordsworth. So active voice, thing doing the action, Wordsworth. Then the action and then the thing receiving the action. In passive voice, we change the order. Thing receiving the action will be written first. Therefore, the poem will be written first. The name of the poem will be written first, then the action, and then the person who is performing the action. Then the last question is, Portia delivered a speech on mercy and Portia. Again, the subject has to be converted into the object. And it means that the active sentence is to be converted into passive sentence. We have to end the sentence with Portia. So this is the subject, delivering is the verb, the action, and speech on mercy or speech on mercy is the object. So we begin, a speech on mercy was delivered by Portia. I hope you've understood. You're expected to write all the answers neatly in your register and mail the work to me and to your teachers. And we are not so busy that we will not check your work. So please be careful and please mail it positively, because the exercises are too important to be ignored. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed.